Good day, and welcome to the special virtual celebration hosted by the University of Cape Town. We are honoring the graduates who completed their respective programs of study in 2021. This event has been pre-recorded, and it will be available for viewing on UCT's YouTube channel, on the UCT graduation webpage, and on UCT platforms in LinkedIn and Facebook. Graduation is one of the most important events in any university's year. It marks the accomplishment of years of hard work, often under very difficult circumstances. It is a celebration of the sacrifices made by every student, as well as their families and other supporters. Before the pandemic, you would have received your graduation certificates in a capping and hooding ceremony in Sarah Baartman Hall. But as we all know, we need to take the responsible and necessary precautions in the fight against the spread of COVID-19. This means that for now, for your safety and for that of your loved ones, UCT cannot host large gatherings such as graduation events. Instead, we have made special arrangements to confer degrees and award diplomas in absentia. Today's celebration commemorates your achievement and the joy that goes with it. You have crossed an important threshold in your life's journey, and we join you and your loved ones, wherever you are, in celebrating your accomplishment today. As graduates of our esteemed institution, you represent the standard of excellence for which UCT is well known. The educational path you have traveled at UCT is only the start of your life's journey. We are proud of you, and we have great expectations of you as you proceed to become the leaders of the future in your chosen professions and walks of life. To begin our ceremony, I now call upon the UCT Chancellor, Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe, to constitute the congregation.
By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I constitute this assembly a congregation of the University of Cape Town.
Hello, my name is Lindiwe Joy Secha, and I am a student at the University of Cape Town, and I will be reading the university dedication. At this time of celebration, we, the members of the University of Cape Town, reaffirm our mission to nurture rational and creative thought and free inquiry, to strive for excellence in teaching and research, to educate for life, and to address the challenges of our society. We undertake to advance these ideals in a spirit of freedom and responsibility and through consultation and debate. We celebrate our founders, benefactors, and predecessors, those who have built the fabric and nourished the values of UCT. To those of you who will graduate today, we wish courage, wisdom, and purpose. To those who will leave the university to learn and work elsewhere, may you be sustained by those values which unite us here today and advance them in the world beyond. A love of truth and of learning and of this, our university.
Good evening, honored graduates. Good evening, parents, guardians, family, friends, guests, and colleagues. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to our graduation ceremony. You have certainly earned your place here tonight. We are here to celebrate you and to make it known that we are proud of you and that we share your joy. The road to your seat here today has not been an easy one. Completing a degree demands an immense amount of effort, dedication, late nights, reading, and introspection. A degree in the humanities not only demands that you put in effort and master the mechanics of your field, the nature of the work we do in the humanities often requires us to ask tough, difficult questions that chip away at what we thought we knew. Many graduates emerge from their studies in our faculty with a vision of the world and of themselves that is quite different from when they entered. I am sure many of you can relate to that sentiment. The diversity of ideas, of people, of scholarly work, and of experiences that we are exposed to place windows where there were once walls and allows us to understand our society much more deeply and holistically. It can be discomforting, as it should be, but also thrilling and enlightening. There are far too many challenges that need solving for us to be too comfortable in our thinking and in our practice. Our minds and wills need to be stimulated to think laterally in identifying these challenges, finding solutions that may go against the grain, and importantly, developing the desire and courage to make a positive change. At the best of times, a degree is very difficult. Under the conditions we have found ourselves in since last year, the difficulty has been ramped up several degrees. We have literally walked through fire this year. The COVID-19 pandemic that sadly continues to wreak havoc on our health and on our livelihoods is a prime example of the unique role that those with the skills developed in a humanities faculty have to play in an imperfect world. Very early on in the pandemic, the lockdowns exposed the tremendous poverty and inequality amongst us, including within our university community. While the unfortunately necessary shutdown of parts of the economy exacerbated the violent effects of this mass poverty and inequality, millions of people had already been living on the brink of catastrophe for decades. All these are problems born of policy, of signification, of practice. With your understanding of the historical and geopolitical forces and interests that have allowed such inequality to come about and to flourish, and with the bird's eye view you have nurtured, you are uniquely placed to dig out the roots of these challenges and injustices. We are counting on you, and we know that you can. I have no doubt that our future is in good hands. As the renowned scholar activist Angela Davis has said many times, you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. To all of you who will be capped virtually today, our undergraduates, honors, masters, and doctoral graduates, I congratulate you. This is an immense accomplishment. Enjoy this moment and enjoy tomorrow, for you will wake up as graduates with a new and prized endorsement behind your name. We also have some special awards to give out today to colleagues who have done tremendous and groundbreaking work and have been recognized by the university for their splendid efforts. Please allow me to announce the winners of these prestigious awards and to congratulate and thank our colleagues for bringing such prestige to the Faculty of Humanities. The Creative Works Award for 2020 is jointly awarded to Associate Professor Niemah Davids and Professor Jay Pather for their performance and published text, What Remains, and Ms. Nkule Mabaso and Associate Professor Nomusa Makubu for their exhibition, The Stronger We Become. What Remains, a years-long multiple output creative collaboration between Professor Jay Pather and Associate Professor Niemah Davids, is a fusion of text, dance, and movement that tells a story about the unexpected uncovering of a slave burial ground in Cape Town, the archaeological dig that follows, and a city haunted by the memory of enslavement. The work concerned with the historical, with an active engagement with the archive, social justice, and the geographies of loss that characterize our city and our country, with disrupting received representations of oppressed peoples, and with responding to South Africa's political life, is also undergirded by the understanding that art is not only informed by theory, but creates it, and that live performance is a particularly powerful space in which to stage these questions and invite responses. What Remains was nominated for 7 and won 5 Fleur du Cap Theatre Awards in 2018, including Best New South African Play and Best Director. Curated by Nkule Mabaso and Nomusa Makubu, the exhibition The Stronger We Become is designed as a trialogue and is based on the notion of resilience. The exhibition and publication was selected to represent South Africa in the South African Pavilion at the 58th International Venice Biennale in Italy in 2019. The Venice Biennale is a major historical event in the arts, bringing curators, artists, and the arts cognoscenti from across the world. Based on the politics of space and time, historical and geographical expansion and compression, The Stronger We Become tackles the perplexing questions about land, displacement, mobility, and intimately tied to this, rights. It takes on this task through engaging with effective politics of anger, outrage, exhilaration, and optimism and disappointment. And by doing this, it points directly to the quest of our struggles, dignity. The Creative Works Award for 2021 is awarded to Associate Professor Amanda Tiffin for her work Facing South. Facing South is an international collaborative recording that brings together influences from Brazil, Cape Town, and American jazz in a novel modern setting. The title of the work was chosen as an indication of not only the geographical location of the project's collaborators, but also as an expression of affinity with the music of South Africa and South America, and the common expression the creators found within these. The harmonic language is predominantly rooted in jazz concepts, although the melodic language utilizes strongly Brazilian and African elements. The Facing South recordings offer a unique sonic landscape by combining these elements in a non-traditional format. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the Creative Works Award for 2021, Associate Professor Amanda Tiffin. The Distinguished Teacher Award for 2020 is awarded to Dr. Bodhisattva Kar and Dr. Marlon Swai. Dr. Kar is the head of departments of historical studies. His teaching methodology is underpinned by a passion for training a new generation of South African historians who demonstrate conceptual depth, are technically competent, critically conscious, and strongly prepared for leadership, teaching, research, and social responsiveness. He is endorsed for the disruption of the curriculum, for facilitating critical thinking, and for the labor-intensive and careful process of curriculum renewal, including the consideration, or his consideration, of the transitions students make across the program. He is further commended for his impact on colleagues, selfless enabling of projects other than his own, and his unifying effect on the department. Dr. Swai, a lecturer in social anthropology, is described as a well-rounded academic who has closely aligned his teaching with his research. He speaks of being a lifelong learner who has channeled both his interests and frustrations in such a way as to sensitize him to the urgency and joy of collective learning. He feels that his primary responsibility as a teacher is not to win students' favor, but to urge them to learn. This includes curriculum design and pedagogical practices that allow students to see themselves reflected in the learning materials and experience the moments of discomfort, belonging, and affirmation that come with learning. His innovative and critical pedagogies also make use of multilanguaging, which, in addition to captivating students, according to testimony to his teaching, facilitates their understanding of the role of language in the knowledge project and how the identities of both teachers and students play themselves out in classrooms. The Fellowship Award for 2022 is awarded to Professor Joan Hambidge, Professor Francis Nyamjo, and Professor Fiona Ross. Since joining UCT as senior lecturer in 1992, Joan Hambidge has become one of South Africa's most celebrated contemporary poets and one of the few who is also a household name among Anglophone connoisseurs of poetry in this country. She is currently professor in the School of Languages and holds the Hofmeyr Chair in Afrikaans and Creative Writing. While her area of research and publication is in Afrikaans poetry and prose, she is also a theorist and public intellectual, and she has published key works on gender and post-colonialism in both English and Afrikaans journals. She has completed 2 PhDs, her first at Rhodes University and her second at UCT. At a historically English medium institution, the teaching and creation of literature in Afrikaans has always been subject to much scrutiny and public interest, and Professor Hambidge has, more than anyone else in recent years, been the public face of this celebrated endeavor. Apart from her own publications in poetry and other creative writing journals, she has spoken in multiple radio interviews, at book conventions and literary festivals, and written for the Afrikaans press. She is arguably the most notable and most powerful voice in Afrikaans poetry in the country, in addition to being a celebrated public intellectual who regularly reviews poetry published in English, German, and French. Chancellor, I have the honor to invite you to award a fellowship of the university to Professor Joan Hambidge. Professor of Social Anthropology, Francis Nyamjo, is held in high regard internationally and at home, as is evidenced by his many fellowships, awards, and accolades. His thought centers on questions of belonging and the conditions of the world that endanger it, including social and physical boundaries, failures of recognition, and hierarchies that create exclusion. He is especially concerned with forms of theorizing that ossify thought and limit potential, and has the ability to generate invigorating ideas about how and why our world is shaped as it is, and how it might be different if we were to look outside of Euro-American norms and canons. Most recently, his work on popular epistemologies and the intransigence of colonial thought in education systems has been influential in decolonization debates. Key here are his ideas about our need to recognize the impacts of history, the way that theory shapes representation, the unfinished, incomplete nature of human being and sociality, the human capacity for flexible and creative relations, and our need for conviviality as a condition of being human. Professor Nyamjo's notions of conviviality and incompleteness are original and important concepts, particularly in the current moment, which is defined by what he calls ever-diminishing circles of inclusion. In the course of 2.5 decades, Professor Fiona Ross's anthropological work has been animated by a concern with apartheid and colonialism's enduring effects on the constitution of the social in Southern Africa. Part of that concern lies in the question of what we inherit and what we do with inheritances, be they social, generational, or epistemological. Her research broadly encompasses 4 areas: violence and recovery, everyday life, medical anthropology, and ethics. Fiona Ross's work has wide circulation and impact internationally. The regular citation of her studies attests to scholarship that transcends both the local and the immediate. Her fields of research have been important in attracting young Black graduates and producing research-active scholars. She is an intellectual of luminous intelligence and extraordinary integrity. With ideas that have been pioneering in their fields, she is without question one of South Africa's leading anthropologists. She has a significant international profile and reputation. She combines her scholarly achievements with a form of research practice that is highly responsible and responsive to those whose lives her studies engage with. Her reputation as a teacher and a supervisor is stellar, and her investment in students has been enormous. Chancellor, I have the honor to invite you to award a fellowship of the university to Fiona Ross.
Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the award of the degree of Doctor of Music, honoris causa, Johaar Mosaval. It happens rarely, but when it does, the experience is shattering. the sudden, spontaneous roar that bursts forth in the theatre, like a waterfall, decibels above normal applause, when pent-up admiration for a brilliant performance is unleashed. This is from a 1953 newspaper article. The reviewer continues, I witnessed such a rapturous outburst recently in London's famous Covent Garden Opera House. Not at the end of the Swan Lake Ballet, in the middle, immediately after the Neapolitan dance. All around me, people went berserk. Mouths agape, calling the dancer back repeatedly. 4-5 minutes elapsed before the ballet could go on. All this adulation, let me record, evoked by a South African. That South African was Johaar Mosaval, born in District 6 to a humble and conservative Muslim family. Young Johaar had a talent for gymnastics, swimming, and athletics, but also acting. He was often chosen as the lead in his school pantomime, where he was spotted by Dulcie Howes, founder of UCT Ballet School, and she organized a scholarship for him to attend the school. This was unheard of at that time. Says Mosaval, I was Muslim, and in my era, many years ago, Muslims were not trained as dancers. It was at the height of the apartheid era, and I had to stand right at the back of the class. The white boys in the class would give me sideways glances if I happened to grand jeter myself to the front. In 1950, he was smuggled into the back door of the Alhambra Theatre to audition for two visiting celebrity ballet dancers. His audition won him a scholarship to attend the famous Sadler's Wells Ballet School in London. From there, he progressed rapidly to the Royal Ballet Company. His very first solo was for the coronation of the young Queen Elizabeth II, with an audience consisting of crown princes, sultans, sheikhs, kings, queens, and presidents. Unsurprisingly, he reached the top rank of senior principal dancer, the first person of color to hold this position at the Royal Ballet. He toured the world with the Royal Ballet. He danced with legendary dancers like Margot Fonteyn and Rudolf Nureyev in what was a golden era of ballet. However, when they toured South Africa, Mosaval was not on the tour, still not allowed to dance with white dancers in his own country. Mosaval calls himself privileged and fortunate, but such achievement doesn't come without extraordinary discipline and self-sacrifice. Mosaval recounts how, when other dancers had left the ballet studio after daily class, he would stay on, working even harder on his technique. Even on Sunday mornings, when there were no classes, he would practice on his own in his flat in London or in his hotel room on tour. He danced with the Royal Ballet for more than 20 years and was 48 when he danced the Bluebird in Sleeping Beauty at Covent Garden's Royal Opera House for the last time. Not only do most dancers retire by age 35, but the Bluebird is one of the most technically challenging roles in the classical male repertory, filled with successive, energetic brise-volley and entrechat, a challenge for any dancer, let alone somebody way past retirement age. Mosaval returned home and started teaching in Mitchell's Plain in Paarl. That year, he was invited to dance at what was then the Nico Milan Opera House and was the first black performer ever to set foot on that stage. His contract still stated that he was not allowed to touch a white ballet dancer with his bare hands. He has been recognized widely, including the Queen Elizabeth II Gold Jubilee Medal for his services to ballet, and finally, most deservedly, recognition from home, the Order of Imachanga in Gold by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mosaval is known for his generosity. If you visit him, you will never leave without a small gift of nuts, biscuits, or meebos. He has a florist's qualification, and despite or maybe because of his small stature, he has an attraction to big things. He has a British double-decker bus driving license. He has always owned mighty dogs like Rottweilers and Dobermans, and he loves to watch sport on his massive curved big screen at home. Mosaval now lives in Lansdowne. He eats a healthy diet and still stretches cautiously, not the splits anymore. He has beautiful memories of his dancing career, from the glittering tiaras in the audience at the coronation to audiences going berserk over his flawless performances. He says, "If I could be reborn, I would like to be Johaar again." Chancellor, I have the honor to present for the award of the degree of Doctor of Music, honoris causa, Johaar Mosaval.
Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, and Dean, my deepest thanks for this prestigious honorary doctorate. I consider this honorary doctorate from the University of Cape Town a great honor, especially in my 93rd year. This is a very special and exceptional thing for a ballet dancer in particular. I am very happy to see that my dance career is acknowledged and appreciated. For this, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the University of Cape Town for this magnificent recognition. And I thank you all. Thank you. I was the eldest of 10 children. I excelled whenever I was asked to be dancing. Well, you know, for me to be trained as a dancer professionally was really unheard of, because being Muslim, you know. And at that time of my era, many, many years ago, it wasn't done for a Muslim. So I, in fact, had many obstacles in my way. My time was a difficult period. It was the period of apartheid. You know, it was very hard, very difficult, and very painful. And many a time I felt shall I continue with this life or shall I go on? But I continued. I wanted to dance, and not knowing what my future was going to bring, I went away to London, and that was during the 1950s. I arrived at the Royal Ballet School, but then, of course, it was then called the Sadler's Wells Ballet School. And there they said I should start doing exams as well. I became and was known to be the first black student at the school. And they were very impressed with my progress. Within 6 months' time, I did my first exam, and I did 3 exams within 18 months. It was arranged then at the Sadler's Wells that I am to sign a contract to join the Sadler's Wells Ballet Company. I felt free. I felt fantastic because, you know, at the University Ballet School, I had to stand right at the back, alone, on my own. It was the period of apartheid, and I was given black looks. I should not be passing a particular line to come forward. I must stay at the back. And for me now, to be at the Royal Ballet School, I was free to stand any way I wanted. But you know, when I joined the company, within 2 weeks, I danced my first principal role. And that for me is unheard of for anyone to dance a principal role within 2 weeks. And through that performance, I have been so very successful and never, ever looked back. In 1953, Princess Elizabeth became the queen before the king died. And I was chosen out of so many of the dancers by the South African choreographer John Cranko to dance for the Queen Elizabeth at her coronation. That night of the performance of Gloriana, every king and queen of the world were in the audience. In the audience of the presidents were President Truman and President de Gaulle, you know, and of course, Britain's own Sir Winston Churchill. It was the most magnificent, spectacular audience ever. Dancing on stage, you could see the flickering of the tiaras and the diamonds that were worn that night. After my performance for the Queen, I was presented to the Queen, Queen Mother, Princess Margaret, and the Duke of Edinburgh. That for me was the highlight. News were in the Cape Town papers about my success dancing for the Queen. It was quite an exciting moment for my parents, for the family, and of course, you know, the family, in fact, that were very much against me, foregoing because of religion, you know, they mellowed down and said, oh, well, I am his uncle, I am his cousin, I'm family of Johaar Mosaval. During 1956, I became a soloist with the Royal Ballet. Then, in 1960, I was told my rank will become higher, that I will be made now into a principal dancer with the Royal Ballet. Oh my goodness me, that I never thought ever would happen to this black boy. There were great stars like Dame Beryl Gray, Annette Page, Merle Park, Antoinette Sibley. I partnered all these ladies. These people, I never ever thought I would be sharing a star billing with. For me, there was nobody as a prima ballerina who inspired me so much was Margot Fontaine. Oh my goodness me, she was a dream. When the Queen was crowned Queen of England, we became the Royal Ballet. And that is where everything blossomed and blossomed and blossomed for me. But today, the doors are open to everyone that would want to dance and to work. And if they've got the talent to become a dancer professionally, it's up to them to work as hard as possible. It's a very, very strenuous life. It's not easy. Everything you do with your body is against nature, torturing yourself. But if you want to get to the top, it's up to you.
By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I admit to the degrees specified and grant the diplomas and certificates specified to the candidates recorded within this virtual graduation ceremony.
Nanso bantu bakuthi ide yafika le mini. Ndive inkwenkwezi zisebezela inyanga. Inyanga iyaleza ilanga, ilanga lihlebela umhlaba zisithi uzubaza indlebe. Uqwalasele kwinzwane zomzantsi weAfrika, pha kwintshona koloni, kwisixeko esiphantsi komthunzi wentaba yetafile. Kukho into eshukumayo. Ndathi rayi, ndibona ntoni na ngaliso lam? Kwathi kubomvu kwabe kumnyama. Suka zajika izinto. Sagutyungela lilifu lobhubhane wesisipho. Phu, andikwazi nosibiza ngegama. Ompondo zihlanjiwe abandithumileyo bathe ndiniphathele umyalezo wokuvuyisana nani, kodwa ndawube andinanyani ukuba ndenza ngathi andisiva isikhalo senu. Kaloku ndinendlebe nje, ndinetyala. Ndiyazi ukuba beninamaphupha ngolu usuku. Benizibona nivuka kumpondo zankomo nilungiselela ukunyuka iqonga noontanga benu. Ukuze nithwalise izidanga. Nithwalise izidanga nivuze ngomsebenzi wenu omhle. Izihlobo nezalamane zisuka mbombo zone zomhlaba zincama konke ukuvuyisana nani. Beqhayisela ndithabamelwane nabanina odlula ngendlela kuba kaloku imbiza ibiseziko ide yavuthwa. Abo bathenjwe ngesingqike bexhensa betyityimba kuhanjiswa into ezipandayo neplate eziyoko yimibala ngemibala ndithiwa 7 colors kwedini. Lo mlilo wesisifo uye watshisa konke kwaluthuthu. Wajika amaphupha angumsi ngxe bantwana basekhaya. Akukho nkanga idubula ingethi. Kodwa nale iyadlula. iyadlula nale ulwazi kaloku niluthwale phezu kobunzima kodwa ugqatso lona nilufezile. Kuthiwa ubuhle bendoda ziinkomo zayo kodwa mna ndithi ubuhle bomfundi ngumonde wakhe. Niye narhawuka yangathi ujinga uzawuqhawuka, nahamba kuphakathi kwamalangatye kodwa nisazi ukuba ithunga lizala ngomphehlulo. Anancama ndinothulela umnqwazi magoqa ndini. Inyanga nelanga nesibhakabhaka ziyandingqinela xa ndisithi sukumani nime ngeenyawo kwezo ndawo nikuzo nina nawunqandwa ziinkwenkwezi.
Today, we celebrate the 243 graduates who have completed their degree programs in the Faculty of Humanities, our 27 PhD graduates, the 4 recipients of the Creative Works of Arts for 2020, Professor Niemah Davids, Professor J. Patha, Ms. Nkuli Mabaso, and Associate Professor Nomusa Makubu, the recipient of Creative Works of Arts for 2021, Dr. Amanda Tiffin, the 2 recipients of the Distinguished Teacher Awards for 2020, Dr. Bodhistava Kar and Dr. Marlon Swai, and the 3 recipients of the Fellowship Award for 2022, Professor Joan Hambidge, Professor Francis Nyamjo, and Professor Fiona Ross, and our honorary degree recipient, Mr. Johaar Mosaval. We honor the hard work, discipline, and passion you each brought to your time here at UCT, including what you accomplished during the difficult conditions that were brought about by COVID-19. Your perseverance brought you here today. We also celebrate what lies ahead because your education is so important, not only for yourself, but also for South Africa and the world. I hope you leave UCT with the commitment to make your education count for others as well as for yourself. Thanks to digital technology, we are all global citizens. As much as I would prefer to be standing before you here in Sarah Baartman Hall, I look on this virtual ceremony as an opportunity to think about your reach into the world. In the past, when change came to South Africa, it was brought by colonial power. Today, we have the opportunity and the responsibility not only to initiate our own changes, but also to help change the world. In fact, the world needs our point of view because the old ways of thinking have not stopped it from becoming what it is today. Those of you who are graduating with your PhD have spent years building a perspective on your topic that no one else has achieved. I wish we had time to read out all the theses because they give such a vivid picture of the many different ways these new doctors of philosophy are contributing to African-based knowledge. But here are a few samples. The media's role in the consolidation of democracy in South Africa, the case of the SABC soap operas as a cultural public sphere. All these wonderful things, the place of digital resources in newly qualified English language and literacy teachers' practices from higher education to high schools. Faith-based interventions in addressing violence against women in Cape Town. How to be a superhero, stories of creating a culture of inclusion through theater. The middle stage, state-sponsored overseas Chinese academics and China's managed cultural globalization. Every PhD graduate is proof of UCT's mission to be the best for this continent in research that makes a difference in people's lives. Thank you for keeping the African light shining bright. All you graduates have been through 2 recent crises with us. The first is the global pandemic. The second is UCT fire on 18th April. On top of those shared experiences, each of you has endured personal trials, mishaps, and perhaps even griefs as students, because that is just part of life. This means that you have grown at UCT. In achieving your degree, you have demonstrated your strength. So after the glow of graduation has worn off a bit, I invite you to think over not just the triumphs, but also the hurdles and mistakes you experienced in your studies here at UCT. The world needs those life lessons just as much as it needs your educated knowledge. It needs to see your example of courage and growth through hard times. The UCT community also wants to know your story So please use hashtag UCTGrad2021. Send us your photographs and news. Tell us how you and your family are celebrating and what you plan for the future. Chancellor, now I want to invite you to come and congratulate the graduates.
Congratulations, graduates, on a remarkable year of achievement. When we dream of graduation, we imagine a moment of relief when our hard work, resilience, and long-held faith in the academic journey peaks in this final ritual of rite of passage. We imagine wearing the gown, walking along the stage, and hearing the praises from our family and the audience. It is bittersweet for this moment to be virtual, and it may not carry the same weight that it did in your imagination. This is what it must feel like to enter a period when nothing is certain. The best leaders in history were shaped by crisis, because in a crisis, we are led by our values, our ability to remain truthful, purpose-driven, strong-willed, and kind. In a crisis, we must forego the motives, systems, and processes that no longer serve us. And in this, we discover a life with expanded limits of possibility. As you begin different journeys, and as you find your feet amidst the challenges facing this world, you are also called upon to become the leaders who will make a difference. The search for knowledge and worldly experience does not end here. When we adopt a mindset of constant curiosity, we embark on a journey of never-ending growth and progress. This is why I encourage you to grasp every opportunity that is open to you to learn more about yourself and your world, to explore the ways you can make a difference, and to connect with others who want to see the same kinds of change you want to help to bring. Seek out mentors who will guide you and become that mentor to others. Seek out opportunities that will empower you and create opportunities to empower others. South Africa, Africa and the world needs fresh approaches, the independent thought, and the burning desire to see change that is abundant amongst this cohort. COVID-19 may have stolen your graduation ceremony, but it cannot take away your education. By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I hereby dissolve this congregation of the University of Cape Town.
Libiamo negli eti calici che la bellezza infiora, e la fugge l'oro si pria voluta. Libiam nei dolci fremiti se suscita l'amore, poiché quell'occhio al cuore onnipotente va. Viviamo l'amore, amore fai tonici più cari fatti avrà. Viviamo amorata, amici più cari fatti avrà. Tra voi saprò di vedere il demonio giocondo. Tu hai follia, follia del mondo, ciò che non è piacer. Godiamo focaccia rapido, il gaudio dell'amore, e da più che nasce l'amore, né più si può goder. Godiamoci in vita, le ferme, facendo non segni. Godiamo la tazza e canti con la notte bella nel viso. In questo paradiso ne scopra il Nobodin. E la vita nel tripudio, quando non samina ancora